Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. We have another brand new Abyss 12, so it's time for another Abyss 12 video. Woohoo! So this Abyss 12, my friends, felt absolutely terrible to do unless you actually bring the proper teams. And this is because this Abyss 12 has a lot of checks when it comes to mechanics. So enemy mechanics are going to be the top priority to deal with, especially for more free-to-play friendly teams. And speaking of which, as always, we're going to start off with a 4-star only team. And then we're going to do a quick top half speed run after that. And then I'll just yap a bit and give you guys some tips and pointers along the way. And frankly, this Abyss 12 was honestly absolutely horrible until I realized, oh, hey, there are some specific teams that actually work pretty well for it. So let's take a look at those teams, starting off with the 4-star team with 4-star weapons and stuff like that. So I have my Calais built as kind of a damage dealer. I mean, you know, raw dendro damage with a little bit of aggravate here and there with the Gilded Dream. And she is at Constellation 6 and her talents are at 9, 9, and 9. And this top half team is going to be a classic Hyper Bloom team, and we're dusting off the good old DMC, not Devil May Cry, but the Dendro main character, and she is using a crit rate focused Favonius supportish build with the Deepwood Memories and doing a bit of damage herself, not much damage. And finally, we have the star of the show, good old Kuki Shinobu and classic Hyper Bloom. We've got the Flower of Paradise Lost with just a bunch of elemental mastery on her. And finally, we have a cookie cutter Xingqiu build with the Sacrificial Sword, as well as, you know, the Emblem of Severed Fates. So that is the top half, a very classic Hyper Bloom team. And next we have the bottom half, which is... yeah, I think that the bottom half has a lot of issues because of the enemies there, but thank goodness we have the true Pyro Archon Xiangling to, when things get difficult, you bring Xiangling. Who do you call? Xiangling. So here we go. She has the standard 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fates build with, oh my god, I'm really cooking with with this crit ratio. I didn't realize how bad her crit ratio was, unless I accidentally mucked up her build here. Okay, maybe her build is messed up because, yeah, that crit ratio is a bit off. So hopefully I didn't accidentally mess up her build when I was building my other characters for the speedrun. But you guys get the point. It's roughly something like that. And then we have Noblesse Oblige Bennett with, you know, typical Bennett stuff. Then we have Official. Official is actually very great and important for this team. And finally, we have Chevreuse. Good old classic overloaded Favonius Chevreuse built with crit rate as well as 40,000 HP and the two-piece for cautious. So she is at Constellation 6, so do keep that in mind. This team is indeed performing a bit better, although I do think we actually had some time to spare, so there is room, there's wiggle room when it comes to these teams. Incidentally, these teams actually don't utilize these buffs at all because we don't have Dendro in the second half, and we also don't have cryo damage in the first half. So there's also just that to keep in mind. All right, let's take a look at the actual runs, starting off with this Hyper Bloom team in the top half. And starting off, we are fighting the Aramite Stone Enchanter dude. This guy isn't too complicated, but basically it spawns a little Crocodile Buddy, and while the Crocodile Buddy is out, I believe it has elevated resistances. So be sure to take out the Crocodile Buddy, which also does a % of the Aramite's HP, and after that it's just easy pickings, and he is taken out in a single rotation from this Hyper Bloom team. Now the next two guys or girls are these Wind Operative Fatui agents, which are pretty annoying, but basically they kind of teleport around and do that gas fart slam attack on your head. For those people that like being farted on, they will enjoy this fight. But if they hit you with that, then they will end up applying a Bond of Life, which, as a quick refresher, Bond of Life, in order to clear it, you need to heal a bunch to clear off the Bond of Life from your character. And while the Bond of Life is on you, I believe you also take damage over time from the enemy. So yeah, you want to avoid getting hit by its wind slam attack, and if you do get hit by it, then you want to heal it off if possible, or else you will take a lot of damage. But here I am just trying my best to keep them grouped up, and they also have elevated animo resistances, so try not to beat them up with animo damage specifically, and instead, you know, pretty much any other damage type will do wonders against these enemies. So yep, pretty straightforward cleanup of those enemies in the top half. Now, this is one of the most annoying enemies in the game, the lava dragon statue. You can see there that I'm filling up the little circle. It has 2 phases, with the first phase being kind of like its rock form, and then the second phase being a dragon form, where both forms have really elevated resistances, especially the rock form. So you really want to get it to transition into this overburned state, where after you fill up that meter twice, it will fall down and you will be able to do a ton of damage to it. Now, interestingly, in order to fill up those circles, you need to do a ton of pyro damage and pyro attacks to it. And pyro attacks that apply pyro will fill it up by 6 points, whatever percent. Pyro attacks that don't apply pyro will fill it up by, you know, like whatever percent, like 1%, a lot less. And the key here is to do a ton of pyro that applies pyro. So Xiangling is absolutely perfect for this. And also avoid hitting it with hydro or cryo attacks while it is in its second form dragon thing, or else it will, you know, remove all your progress from filling up its circles. But if you fill up its circles with a ton of pyro damage, then it is, you know, a reasonable boss to deal with. But without that pyro damage, you are in for a world of pain. So up next, we have the next chamber, which this chamber is basically, in my opinion, 5 waves with the way that it works. But the first 2 are these 2 robot doggos, where there's not really much to say about them. There's 2 of them, and they just have some hit points. And the second wave is, you know, these 2 little robot dudes, and there's also really nothing to really say about these robot dudes. These are basically just filler waves in order to, you know, apply, I don't know, more hit points to this chamber. Speaking of hit points, now we have the perpetual mechanical array to deal with, where this thing has effectively 3 phases. And the first phase here, you know, you just do a bunch of damage to it until it is at roughly 20 to 30% HP or so. I'm never sure exactly how much HP you need to bring it down to, but once it's low on HP, not only can you not finish it off, it will go into panic mode, and in panic mode, it will summon its little robot buddy. So yeah, this is a very beefy chamber with the max amount of HP if you get the crab or octopus robots, around 5.3 million hit points total. So yeah, very thick boy chamber here. But fortunately, the key here is just to focus on doing damage, and this is you don't have too many mechanics specific to these enemies to really worry about. You just focus on doing a ton of damage and you will probably be okay. So we got the snake robot, which is, and it also burrowed underground, which is not ideal. You want the Dorito robot. That's the best one because it has the lowest HP, and it also just, you know, pretty much sits there. But basically, after you beat up its robot buddy friend, find the one with the golden circle, kill it, and now the core will be exposed, allowing you to take it out pretty easily, because now it has reduced resistances as it just sits there and allows you to pound it to smithereens with our Lego buddy all sprawled out all over the ground. So the next one, let me see, I actually don't remember. Okay, yeah, I remember now. So these things are the 2 void shield enemies, the Tenebris Mimesis, and here we have the Animo Hilichal Rogue variant, which has 70 of ticks, or you have to hit it set with 70 instances of damage in order to break it, or Night Soul related damage deals 3 instead of 1. So everyone else does 1 count to it, and Night Soul damage does 3. So you can either bring characters that deal a ton of little bitty bits of damage like Xiangling and Fischl, or you can bring characters that do a lot of individual hits of Night Soul damage, like for example Chaska, Kanish, and probably Auroron, as well as like Constellation 6 Aoife are pretty good for this. But yeah, so anyway, Electrocharge also deals a lot of little hits as well. So yeah, deal a ton of little hits, and after you break this Void Shield where it is invincible during, then these Tenebris memes or whatever are basically vulnerable, and they will, you know, you can just take them out as they flounder around on the ground, and, you know, they just kind of float around. So yeah, lots of little hits to deal with those enemies. And up next for Chamber 12-3, this one is kind of interesting, not because of this first enemy, but there is one thing about this first enemy that's kind of important. It's just a rune grader with 1.2 million hit points. You just do 1.2 million hit points worth of damage and you take it out. But what's interesting is the enemy that comes after it. So here we can see that with this team, I am able to kill it faster if I burn all of my elemental bursts right now. However, I've decided to save my elemental bursts for the next wave. And this is important because now we're just finishing it off with a bit of patience, but now we can use all of our elemental bursts that are relevant, in this case, Traveler as well as Xingqiu. And this enemy here, once it summons its shield thing, it will drain all the energy from your entire party. And this really sucks because now you have to actually deal raw damage to take out this special shield. And once you take out the special shield, it will now actually fill up your entire team's energy. So you are highly incentivized to deal a bunch of damage to its white shield. Take that out in time, or else it will convert that white shield into electro gauge shield. And if it is an electro gauge shield, well, that really sucks because not only does your team not have any energy, but you have to break it via the typical electro shield breaking shenanigans. Anyway, up next we have the Tenebrous Poopy Pants enemy here. And this enemy summons another void shield where you have to hit it a bunch of times. A ton of little hits within, I don't know, like 13-ish seconds or so. Or else it will blow you up and also have elevated resistances. So instead, if you're able to break its shield in time, it will not only have lowered resistances while it is in this down state, paralyzed state, it will also, I believe, now have lower resistances after it's recovered from paralyzed, having 35% resistances versus 70% resistances if you don't manage to break its void shield in time. So either way though, you definitely want to bring a team with resistance shred. The more the better. Here we have both Xiangling as well as Chevreuse shredding resistances of this enemy, which is obviously going to be very helpful against it. And I think I completely messed up my rotation, but the nice thing about this was that it only took me literally one attempt for the second and third chambers in order to 9-star these. So as long as you bring stuff that can deal with the mechanics properly, then this Abyss 12, it felt like it was more manageable in certain ways in comparison to probably the last one and stuff like that. So yeah, bring lots of little hits and pyro if possible in the second half. And yeah, top half is you're a bit more lenient. You can just more so focus on dealing damage. So yeah. And up next, we have a very quick day one speed run. So, this is not optimized, and I can see a lot of ways to further optimize this, but we can first just do a Mavuika burst to wipe out the second wave of enemies, just like that. And with this, of course, this is my Constellation 6 Refinement 5 team. And this is crazy because you don't even need Mavuika's Elemental Burst to zero cycle the Perpetual Mechanical Ray. We can see here that it didn't even get an attack off before it went into panic mode. And now we can just go for the Elemental Burst, completely whiff because I'm good at this game. And with a bit more damage, we would be able to just single charged attack the core of the Perpetual Mechanical Ray, but whatever. I'm not here to min-max this stuff. And yeah, same thing for this. Basically, you just burst and charge attack to wipe out the next enemy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy for this Mavuika speedrun. Alright, so let's take a look and talk about some additional teams that you can utilize for this Abyss 12. Obviously, this first half buff of characters' elemental skill cryo damage increased by 75% is clearly designed for Escoffier. Obviously, nothing here in the top half can, stop cryo damage. In this case, the Thundering Waya manifestation is actually uniquely weak to cryo damage because while it doesn't take more damage from cryo damage, the Electro Shield that it generates, assuming you fail to break its white shield, you can, easily break it with Electro. So yeah, cryo damage teams like Risley, Ayaka, or Escoffier, plus, various 4-star cryo characters will do very, very well in the top half. And of course, Fiorina will do well with those teams as well. Top half is actually not that interesting because you can mainly just focus on dealing damage. Seeing which, I think Geo teams will do well. Pretty much Animo teams will struggle, like Wander or Xiao might struggle a bit against the veteran Wind Operative, but it's still probably very manageable, especially with, Farazan and various forms of resistance shred, like perhaps Jean as well. And for this one, literally just do damage. There's nothing else to say about it. Just don't bring physical against the perpetual mechanical array. But literally no one's using physical these days. If you are using physical damage, let me know down in the comments below. And that's about it. Thundering Wild Manifestation. If you don't, build up your burst right before dealing with it, then yeah, you might struggle a little bit. But again, just remember the tip from earlier. You can kill the Rune Grader a bit slower to build up your burst against it. So yeah, anything that does damage will do perfectly fine against the top half. Neuvillette will do well. Molani, etc., etc. They will all do well. Oh yeah, the Thundering Wild Manifestation does resist Electro by a bit, so do keep that in mind. Okay, so the next, as for the second half, again, it's very, very pyro focused with the Lava Dragon statue. In my opinion, this is one of the enemies where the mechanics are so inflexible to deal with it that you literally just have to bring a ton of pyro damaging attacks to deal with this thing. Because otherwise, yeah. So that also includes burning teams. Burning teams do well against the Lava Dragon statue as well, because obviously the burning reapplication or the burning ticks will, deal with this fairly reasonably quickly. So something like Kanish, Bennett, Xiangling plus Emily will absolutely shred this, or you can bring Mavuika as well for that if you want. And same with this, just deal tons of little hits of damage. I already kind of went over this, but Electro Charged, the Overloaded team does well, Fischl does well, Auroran does well. Just characters that deal a ton of little hits will do great against these enemies because they're Void Shields. Or you can, of course, bring Night Soul aligned damage like Kanish, as well as Auroran, Chaska, etc., etc. And finally, we have this Tenebris Papilla Papu Pants, which works the same way as these guys. And yeah, I kind of already yapped about it. I actually don't really have too much else to say about it. But we can see the second half obviously is clearly designed for Kanish, because we have Elemental Skill Dendro damage increased by 75%. So Emily, Kanish, they will absolutely shred the second half of Abyss 12 if you do have them. But you can see that various other pyro-focused teams will also do well against it. Just one more thing about the Lava Dragon statue as a quick reminder. Avoid using Hydro and Pyro against its dragon phase state, or else it will deplete that meter and you won't be able to knock it down into overburn state. So there you go. That about wraps up this Abyss 12. Let me know what you think about this one. Personally, I found it a bit easier than the previous Abyss 12 to 9-star with a 4-star only team. However, obviously that will depend on, whether you have the right characters built or not. So let me know what you guys cleared this Abyss 12 with down in the comments below, and what you think about it as well. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Went to Lose, signing out.